Hey guys, today I want to take a look at the approval rating of President Joe Biden, which compared to presidents in the past really is a very average approval rating. However, taking a look at Biden's approval and comparing it to other politicians of today, it is a stunning approval rating. It is a very strong approval rating with how polarized politics has become and just how partisan people are in today's world here. And I want to take a look at what this means for the 2022 midterms as well as Joe Biden's possible re-election campaign in 2024. So before we get started, make sure you join my Discord server if you have not, the link to which is at the very top of the description below. So make sure you join that if you haven't. And so taking a look at the approval map here of President Biden, currently 333 electoral votes of states where he is pretty popular in. So all the dark blue states, these are states in which Joe Biden is positively approved of. So his net favorability in these states are positive. And then these lighter blue states, these are states in which his disapproval rating is higher than his approval rating, but his disapproval rating is 50% or lower. So Michigan is only negative net 1. Wisconsin net 3. So that is why these states I've also put in the blue column, because there are states in which a majority of people do not disapprove of the president. It's just there are voters who are undecided, but his net favorability in these light blue states is still just a little bit on the negative side. In states that are in dark red, these are states in which Joe Biden's disapproval is just pretty high, especially his net approval is in the pretty high negatives. And then Georgia is a little bit lower, which is why I put it there, but he is still quite a bit disapproved of in Georgia as of right now. So taking a look at a more detailed map here, this is the civics polling information for the approval rating of President Biden. As you can see, the blue states are states in which his favorability here is positive. I'm using favorability right now because the approval map does not actually have colors, but this was updated just 2 days ago. So blue states where his approval is positive, Nevada +4. This was a state that he won by 2.4%. And then most of the Northeast, as well as even Pennsylvania, a positive 4% approval. And then for the state of Michigan, -1, Wisconsin -3. As you can see, those numbers are 50 or lower. North Carolina only at 50 there. Florida at 50, Georgia at 51. That's a negative net 7. That's surprisingly high for Joe Biden. I'll compare this to the numbers of Donald Trump just to show you just how much higher Joe Biden's numbers really are. The state of Arizona net -1. Go back 10 years, 2012, this state was won by Mitt Romney by 9.1%. So, 2004, this was won by Bush by 10%. So, Arizona has really come a long way in moving to the left. And right now, they approve, 47% of the state approve of the Democratic president. And then if you compare this to the map for Donald Trump, remember, Joe Biden's net approval in Michigan was -1. Donald Trump's -14, Wisconsin -13, Florida -11. Joe Biden's approval here is net -4. Go to a state like Georgia -10, North Carolina -9. He's even disapproved of in Texas, Iowa as well, and Ohio, states that he flipped by huge margins in 2016. Look at the 2012 map. Basically, the entire Rust Belt is blue. You can go back 4 years as well. 2008, the entirety of this Rust Belt area is blue. But, 2012 loses Indiana. 2016 loses everything but Illinois and Minnesota, if you count that as a part of the Rust Belt. So, Donald Trump won Ohio, 8.1%, 9.4% before. These were huge margins for Obama, 3%, 5.8%. So, Donald Trump, in these states that he won by huge margins in, still, he's really unpopular in net -8, net -7. He is even unpopular in Kansas, Utah, and Montana, states that went to him by over 15%. So these approvals here are comparable to the approval rating that Joe Biden has in states like Michigan and Wisconsin, states that he won by literally less than 3%. Wisconsin, 0.6% approval for Joe Biden, yet his disapproval there is only net -3. Trump's -13. So, this really shows, just why Donald Trump lost the election. He was just way too disapproved of, just way too many people did not like him, that they all turned out on election day. And that's why you had that record approval, or not record, but that record turnout. No presidential candidate ever won over 70 million votes. The highest was 69 million by Barack Obama in 2008. No one had ever won more than 70, but Joe Biden won, I believe, around 84 million votes. Yes, no, not 84, 81 million votes. So he beat Barack Obama's record by over 12 million votes. That is just, how many people turned out against Donald Trump. And I do want to take a look at Biden's favorability and approval in certain aspects. Really, it's his coronavirus approval that's keeping him up right now. That really is very strong for Joe Biden. But before we take a look at that, this is the approval rating of Joe Biden over time. So from January 2018, so a year after he left office as Barack Obama's vice president, he was approved of pretty narrowly. And then once it became, kind of clear that he was going to run for president in 2020, his disapproval skyrocketed all the way up to 59% at one point, according to Civics here. I mean, this was basically when Joe Biden did horrible in the Democratic primary. He did absolutely terrible at the beginning, and then he really only started to gain traction when he won South Carolina, and then he won Super Tuesday, if you remember all the way back. But his approval increased as the campaign went on. Election day 2020, his approval was net -3, and then when he came into office, it went into the favorables, and right now it is a net 0. So this is the net favorability of Joe Biden, and basically he had never been approved of until early January this year when he took office. So yeah, definitely Joe Biden, much more liked than when he was in early 2020. And then looking at Donald Trump's, I mean, it's horrible. Never, ever been in the positives, just in the negatives throughout his entire term. So I do want to take a look at the specifics for Joe Biden. So this is Joe Biden's overall approval on Real Clear Politics. As you can see, a net 13% favor positive approval. Basically, all the polls show him in the positives here for the President of the United States. Look at the polls, basically, not a single poll that's been out so far has shown Joe Biden's approval be in the negatives. He is approved of in every single one of them. His disapproval is creeping up a little bit, but his approval rating has essentially stayed the same at around that 54% mark. It's basically where he started. So his disapproval is going up a little bit, but his approval is staying strong at around 54%. And then if you want to take a look at certain aspects, so he's 54-41. He's a little bit weaker here on the economy, 52-40. And this is actually pretty surprisingly high. This was the area in which voters were most confident in Donald Trump. That's why a lot of people did support Trump. His economy approval was a little bit higher than Joe Biden's. And exit polls, it was around a 50-50 split. But Joe Biden right now, 52% of Americans approve of the job that he's doing with the economy. 40% disapprove of his economy handling. So that really is shockingly high for me for Biden's approval on the economy. And then foreign policy is around the same thing, basically, plus 10%. And then finally taking a look at his handling of the coronavirus. So this is Biden's approval on COVID-19. It's, the highest ever of, these, out of these three. He's at 61.2 right now, 33.8 disapprove. And his positive is currently at 27.4% net approval. That really is very, very high, in the low 60s. For his approval of his handling of the coronavirus. That's really what is keeping him up right now with everything he's doing with it. I think he's doing a pretty good job getting the vaccines out. And I really think that in 2022, that is when things will really start to become normal once again. And I think that if that happens, I really do think that people will vote for the Democrats once again. They were able to get, people out of this. They were the one that voted for the $1,400 stimulus checks that over 70% of the country wanted. No single Republican voted for that. It was only Democrats that delivered what over 70% of the American people wanted. And then direction of the country right now, this is also at an all-time high, basically, since polling for this even really began. 2008, that was the highest ever. 2009, early 2009, in Barack Obama's first term. Sorry about this always loading. That's just what Real Clear Politics likes to do. But right now it's at 43.3 people. 43.3% of people say that the country is moving in the right direction, while 51% think the country is moving on the wrong track. But the approval of this is basically just how the government is doing, essentially. It was the highest at around 45% under Obama. It was at a net positive 0. In Obama's first year, but of course it dropped all the way down to 18-19% by 2011. And then if you look at Joe Biden's right now, this is when Joe Biden took office early January. It was at the lowest ever. That was after the insurrection at the Capitol. Once Joe Biden took office, positive, positive 8.2 in the wrong track direction. However, it's at 43.3. It's never been higher since Donald Trump took office, and it's pretty much higher than any point during Barack Obama's administration, except for that tiny amount of time in early 2009 when people really had a lot of faith in the former president, which is something that really got lost in his next 8 years in office. So this is also looking very, very good for Joe Biden coming into 2022 midterms. And then taking a look at comparing this to Trump's, I mean, Trump's approval, horrible throughout the whole thing. His only positive time was at the very beginning when his net approval was plus 0.1%. Imagine that. The only time you're approved of by 0.1%. That was basically the first polls ever released. And then as for Obama, this of course was Obama's graph. Pretty unfortunate for him. He came in, people had a lot of hope in him, but he did not deliver everything that he set out to do. But he remained a pretty strong president throughout. He was able to win a re-election pretty comfortably. 2012, this was when he was able to hold on to both houses of Congress, I believe. And we'll take a look at how Congress has voted since then. So here is the makeup of the Senate. So 2012, that was when Obama ran for re-election. So they lost the House there, actually. Yeah, I don't know why I said that they kept it, but they lost the House in 2010. So 2010, that's basically 112th Congress right here. They were able to hold on to their huge Senate majority that they got from 2008, but they did lose the House of Representatives by a huge margin. But in 2010, this was Obama's approval. It was in the negatives, starting to get in the negatives, and that lost him the House of Representatives. And then for George W. Bush, it was even worse. I mean, look at this disapproval when he left office. It was higher, of course, because of 9/11. This is for George W. Bush. But yeah, he was able to creep up into the positives again before his re-election in 2004. And if you look at this, Bush was pretty much able to hold on to all of Congress. So this is the early 2000s. So he lost, so the Republicans lost the Senate by, no, they won the Senate, actually. They won the Senate in 1998, and then after that, Bush was able to hold on to the House and Senate for quite a while until 2008 when they lost it. I don't know how he won it in 2006. That really is quite a mystery to me, how the Republican Party were able to hold on to that. So really, it's not all about the approval of the president. I mean, look at this approval. Republicans still won it. So it's not all about approval, but I think that with COVID-19, something that has really affected basically everyone in the country, with Joe Biden having such a high approval on it, and I think that if he's able to get the country, back into a lot of a normal, a lot more of a normal state by 2022, that's a perfect time to do that. I really think that the Democrats can do very, very well in the midterms, because taking a look at the midterms map, Joe Biden is approved of in Pennsylvania. Georgia he disapproved of, but Georgia is a state that leans towards the Democrats right now on the Senate level. Arizona as well, and Nevada, they could really expand their Senate majority. Joe Biden's also popular in North Carolina as well as Wisconsin, much more popular than the Republicans, and you have retirees in Pennsylvania and North Carolina. So Republicans no longer have incumbents in those two states. And then taking a look at a state like Ohio, Iowa, I mean, they're pretty much going to go Republican at this point, but Missouri also had another retiree, and Florida, Marco Rubio's seat, he's probably still going to win, but taking a look at this map, this is not good for the Republican Party, because Joe Biden is approved of in Pennsylvania, he's mildly disapproved of in Wisconsin and North Carolina by a very small margin, and Republicans no longer have incumbents in Pennsylvania nor North Carolina. Wisconsin, we're not even sure about what Ron Johnson is going to do. So this really could be horrible for the Republicans. They already have retirees in Pennsylvania, in North Carolina, in Missouri, in Alabama, as well as in Ohio. So that's 5 right there. I believe there's one more, actually. I'm not exactly sure where that is, but they currently at 5. They could lose Chuck Grassley in Iowa, as well as Ron Johnson in Wisconsin. Those are very, very likely retirees for the Republicans. So Joe Biden's approval right now, a very strong approval for the President of the United States, something that he should be pretty happy about, especially with the margin that he won his election in. So yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure you like this video if you enjoyed it. Comment down below what you think his approval means for the midterms as well as 2024. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Again, subscribe to my channel if you have not. Join my Discord server, the link which is at the very top of the description below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.